Hi, yes, I'm posting from kind of a weird angle. You can see a different part of my bedroom and a little bit of my hallway. That's because my phone charger doesn't actually reach all the way over to the window where I usually film. So I thought I would take a second here while my phone is charging up and just give you an update. I had made a number of posts over the last several weeks saying like, oh, I need an office space. I'm working on trying to figure out what it would look like to have my own workspace. The recommendation of a friend, I had kept a tally of every time I was interrupted trying to film by children or dogs or people at the front door or whatever chaos is happening in our small house. And then I added up like how much time am I losing each week being interrupted and then losing my train of thought. And then I'm sure you've noticed it creates errors in my videos where I think I've edited something or I think I've completed a sentence and I haven't. So out of my desire to produce better quality content and just to have like a dedicated workspace instead of a storage tub full of yarn stacked on another storage tub full of yarn with a blanket thrown over it, with my laptop and my camera on a stand, or I'm perched on my bed filming. I'm like, this is a real business, so I need a real office. And there's no room in my house to actually have that. Somebody had said like, oh, why don't you just put a desk in your bedroom? My bedroom is like 10 foot by 12 foot. There's no room. This used to actually be a little parlor, I think, a little sitting room. And that's why it's right off the kitchen. Don't look at my messy kitchen over there. So I had made a few posts crowdsourcing like, hey, y'all, I think I want to build a little studio in my backyard, like a little she shed that I can film in, but needs to be insulated, obviously, so that I can film outside in the winter. I was thinking I could get a little camping wood stove in it and use trimmings for my trees, especially my hazel tree. I get a ton of firewood off that by coppicing it every year. And like maybe I could get some solar panels and then be able to have a little studio where I could film in peace and quiet and produce better quality content and also like not drive my family crazy at the same time. So I'd ask folks like, I don't know what I'm doing. Can you give me advice? And so many people who are contractors and folks who had built their own little sheds in their backyard just offered up so much advice and gave me really, really good suggestions. So I just want to say thank you to everybody. Yeah, thank you so much for all of your insight and advice because this is an area where I just know next to nothing. And it looks like I have found a contractor and he understands what I want, is able to work within my budget. And hopefully in the next couple of months, I'm going to get that built. And then hopefully that will result in a significant improvement in my content. I also just want to say here, every time I've talked about this, I have gotten several comments saying, girlfriend, you should do a GoFundMe and people will donate so that we can, fund your studio space. You deserve to have that, whatever. And I want to say, once again, thank you to that like very, very kind sentiment. Thank you so much. I appreciate that my fans would want to support my work in that way. But I'm not going to do that. I don't think that it's right considering everything that is happening in this country with people that are struggling really hard, all of the other tremendous needs that exist right now. Me having a dedicated office space it's not going to make the list, y'all. You were one of those lovely people that said, I would support a GoFundMe, or Angela, you should start a GoFundMe for your office. I just want to ask you once again, whatever you thought that you might want to donate to me, could you give that to the ACLU or Doctors Without Borders? There are two organizations among several that I support every month. The ACLU is so crucial right now. Doctors Without Borders is picking up basically all of the aid, all of the responsibility and coverage of the aid that was taken away from Sudan when Elon Musk and Donald Trump shut down USAID. Doctors Without Borders is stepping in all over the world, actually, to try and pick up some of the slack and help struggling people around the world who are really, really suffering because our country ended USAID. Or would you consider donating to your food bank instead? They could really use, I know people are tempted to give food donations. They really could use cash the most because they can buy things in bulk and have access to at reduced costs. So if you have canned goods or dry goods, that's awesome. But if you can donate money, that would be the most helpful for your local food bank. Food banks all around the country are looking at the loss of millions and millions of federal dollars. And we are looking at increasing unemployment. We're looking at kids losing their SNAP benefits and their school lunch program. All over this country, food banks are going to be really strapped. So I really appreciate people wanting to be kind and generous, but our family is doing okay. I just want to say thank you for your generous heart and your desire. I want to help my platform, right? I'm just really asking you to pivot that generosity toward any of the many, many groups that are desperately struggling right now. Food banks, immigrants' rights groups, veterans groups, or organizations that are stepping into the gap and attempting to support and fill the need. because the need is just really massive, not just in the US, but globally because of what the regime is doing. Or alternatively, to organizations that are fighting for our civil liberties, that are fighting for our rights. Groups like Indivisible, Democracy Forward, ACLU, the Brennan Center for Justice, Democracy Docket. I usually in December try to put out a list of the organizations that I have donated to throughout the year and that I think are worth supporting. And I check everything with Charity Navigator, right? I'm really intentional about where I donate. I think I will try to put that list out earlier this year because the need is ever growing. And I see so often people in the comments who want to be generous, who have extra resources and they want to be giving, but they're just not sure who to give to because there's just so many options. And how do you know that if you're donating, it will go to people who are actually in need or go toward the causes that you care about? They'll be efficient with their resources, etc. So if you want to research that on your own, I really recommend charitynavigator.org. I think they're a really helpful resource. And again, thank you to people who were like wanting to support my work. Promise you, I'm doing okay. Fuck all on TikTok, and this backup account, I consider every penny that I actually do earn here to be a kitty that I use for charitable causes and mutual aid. And then I actually make my living off of Patreon and YouTube. And I promise you, I'm doing okay. I think at this moment in time, we've really got to focus on the 3 ethics of earth care, people care, and fair share. This beautiful country that we all share, the planet, is literally under attack from corporations and the Trump regime. People in the United States and abroad are suffering. They're under attack. Their liberty and their life is under threat. People are dying every day because of what this regime is doing. And those of us with extra resources, we really need to lean into that ethic of fair share and think about how we can give out of our abundance, right? Not only to protect our own rights, but to protect our neighbors, to protect our communities, to protect our planet, our children's future, those folks who are being targeted by the regime. And I know I've said this before, and I'm going to say it here in closing again. I really encourage you to think about charitable giving as something that can feed and nourish you. It's such a privilege. Like, our family struggled really hard for a lot of years. I know I've talked about this in the past. Like, we were living on the margins for probably 15 years, barely scraping by. And to be in a position now where I can take everything that I earn off of one of my TikTok accounts and be like, if a friend is like, my dad needs help making his rent this month, I can be like, I can throw you something. If my neighbor is having trouble buying groceries, I can buy them groceries. I can donate every single month to Doctors Without Borders. I can upgrade my membership. Indivisible chapter needs supplies for an event. I can be like, I got it covered. That is such a tremendous privilege. And I get a lot of gain out of that, right? I know that we have this idea in the United States that charity, like giving, should be entirely selfless. Nah, y'all, no, it is something that you have a right to enjoy and derive pleasure from. It feels really good to engage in mutual aid. It feels really good to care about other people and the planet. Don't act like it has to be something painful and a sacrifice that you're making to engage in the ethic of fair share and to give to other people or to causes that are doing good work. I get a real rush off of that. Like, I don't have to say no. There are so many more opportunities I have to be generous because people watch my TikTok videos. I just want to encourage you, if you are looking at all of the need around you and you're feeling overwhelmed by it, I really want to encourage you to just think of that as something that can bless other people, but also will bless you. Also is something that can nourish you and help sustain you in this work of defending democracy. When we take care of each other, it can and should not only do good for all of us, but it can and should feel good. It can and should be something that you enjoy. So don't deprive yourself of that opportunity. But I'll be okay with my office. It's going to get built, y'all, on a real tight budget. I'm going to use as many repurposed materials as I can, and I will be real responsible with my pennies. Thank you for your desire to be generous. How can you pivot and use that generosity right where you live to help take care of folks? Anyway, I'm nothing if not long-winded. So that was my 9-minute update. And now my phone is almost charged, so I can get back to posting about what's happening in Portland.